Ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're working on something you're not going to see very often here, a pressure washer. Now, this is not mine. This is not something I bought. It's a neighbor asked me if I'd take care of his for him, and I agreed. Now, the reason we don't buy pressure washers is what'll happen quite often is the pump will fail, and then they'll sit and sit and sit until the motor also gets gummed up and everything, and it fails. So if you get the motor running, a lot of times you'll still need to replace the pump, and you end up losing money on the deal. So since this one isn't ours, we're going to go ahead and fix it for him. So all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and it's what we work for. So let's get started. As always with these, first thing we want to do is check for gas. So we're going to go ahead and pull the gas out of this one. And we're going to do it the easy way. We're going to pull the little clamp here, scoot it a little out of our way. There we go. And I always tell people, when you do this, if you break the fuel line, that's 100% okay. It needed new fuel lines anyway. Because these fuel lines shouldn't break easily. Okay, we're halfway off. Let's scoot you over to the side a little bit so you can see better, so I don't get in your way. There we go. I'll put a little temporary line on. And we'll run it over to this. That's just the easy way to do it. Now that we've got the old gas out of it, when we look at it, it looks very orange. This gas is more than likely past its life. And this is what it looks like after sitting in the garage over the winter. So let's put some new fuel in it and see if she can start. So let's see if she'll start with new fuel in it. Now, if you do this, keep in mind that the carburetor still has old gas in it, so it's going to take quite a few pulls to get this thing to run. We'll put it on full choke. Now let's take it outside and pull it a few dozen times. Okay, we're going to cheat and use starter fluid for this initial attempt. Make sure you turn the choke off before you put starter fluid in it. And lots of it. Now we'll turn the choke back on and give her a couple pulls. Now we're not going to give up just that quick, because we know we've got lots and lots of old gas in the carburetor. And if it's a fuel problem with nothing other than bad gas, it's going to need to be pulled through. Nope, you can see it's not getting any gas at all except for what we just sprayed. So let's go ahead and clean the carburetor up. Let's clean the jets. Now with these little Honda motors, you don't need a whole lot of tools to work on one. You're going to need a 10mm socket, which we're using here. And always, of course, when you're working on a motor, you're going to want pliers and the general whatnot, flathead screwdrivers. Okay. Now let's very carefully take the linkage off. We'll remove the PCV hose. And there you have it. There's your carburetor right there. Now we're going to turn the fuel off. And since we already had it off on this end, we know it'll come off easy. We'll go ahead and pull it off on that end again. And we'll remove it from the carburetor on the bench. There we go. Now the linkage. We'll take one, remove the spring, using care not to bend the spring up. There we go. Spring's off. I'll rotate that off. let's take her over and pull the jets. Now, when I laid the carburetor down, a lot of gas leaked out of it. And that means that there is gas getting to the bowl. And it tells us that our float's probably okay. Our needle and seat are probably working correctly. We're going to get those out of the way. But we're only getting them out of the way to get them out of the way so we can work more easily. Now we're going to pull the jet out. The jet is straight down the center and just takes a thin flathead screwdriver. And this is obviously relatively new and relatively well maintained. So we're only going to worry about cleaning the jet and not the rest of the body. So once it's screwed loose, you'll see it sits like this, and they don't fall out the rest of the way very easily. See, now it's up to that point. So we're going to take a random tool and go. You see, we didn't hit it very hard, we just shook it loose. So let's see what we've got. You should be able to see a little bit of daylight looking down the center of this, and we can't see anything. That tells us that we found our problem. And this is the emulsifier, which, interesting enough, you should also see daylight through, but we can't. So let's get these guys cleared out. Wow. And this one's more clogged than I expected. I really expected, I don't know if you saw it, but you see there's little pieces of things on the wire. That's just dirt and nothing else. I'm definitely glad that I emptied out the gas tank. Okay, let's do the same thing to our jet. Doesn't really matter which way you go, top, bottom, bottom, top. And this one is definitely amazingly dirty. I don't see them that bad very often. There we go. We got our wire all the way through. Now we'll twist it around like this. And what we're doing is we're making the wire rub the outside edges of the jet all the way around. Now I can see daylight down the middle. So that's a happy jet now. Now we're just double checking everything. Make sure that we're all good to go. And now, when you put it back together, this is the part that goes into the carburetor. This is the part that sits at the bottom of the jet like this. That's easy to lose track of. Normally these little side holes in the emulsifier tube do not clog, but we're checking them anyway, only because the carburetor was in especially bad shape. And they're tiny little holes, so they're not easy to get to. Now we're going to blow it out. And I can feel air coming sideways through the holes also. So let's put that back together. Let's see what we've got. You'll see this a lot on pressure washers because they sit around and sit around and sit around. And then the mood strikes to go pressure wash the world. And then once you're done, they go sit around for 6 more months until everything needs pressure washed again. Let's put her back on and see how she runs. If you took pictures taking this apart, this will be pretty easy. And remember, you always work in the reverse order that you took it apart. So we'll go governor arm, choke arm, and then the spring. Depending on the spring, sometimes you want to do it first, but I like to leave it till last when I'm putting it back together, because it can be a challenge in its own. Let's make sure she's bent good. And remember, you don't want to pull on the spring too much, because if you stretch it out of shape, then she's not going to idle correctly. And there we have it. So now she's sitting loosely. Let's grab our air box and our bolts. Gasket's still staying here pretty well. Let's bolt her back together and see what we've got. Now the gasket's fallen off. And do pay attention to the gaskets, that the gaskets go on exactly the way they came off. That's important. And like I said just a minute ago, lots of pictures are a good thing. And always take your time and don't force and don't push, because it came off smooth, so it'll go back together smooth. Put our gas line back on, make sure that's not a problem. And it's not. Now very slowly start these. Oh, missed that one. Okay, now we'll very slowly start these. That one started. This one feels like it's not in the right spot. Nice and tight, nice and tight. Let's turn on the gas. Let's pull out the choke. Let's put her on the ground and give her a run. Okay, first thing we're going to do is make sure she's turned on. Pull the choke, make sure the fuel's on, and let's see if she starts. I'm expecting good things. This is a good looking little machine. Yep, she sounds real nice. I was glad I did that one for free. When I got the whole thing together, the pump is a mess. The motor runs smooth as a kitten, but it needs a new pump. You can hear it hammering when it runs. So if you're buying a pressure washer, think about that. If you can put a little starter fluid in it and actually see water run through it, then it might be worth buying. Other than that, avoid them. So all you new people out there, if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. It's free. That's what we work for. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.